Hi, my name is Mike Jones. The following is a free-form discussion that I had with Shawn Hvall and his wife, Bree. They own R&M Lumber Sales on Mill Street. Their property abuts the J Street homeless camp. They talk a little bit about the impact of their new neighbors and what that's doing to local businesses and also residents in the area. They're launching a coalition of businesses to fight back against this issue and what it's doing to our city. And at the end of this video, I insert that letter outlining what they want to do. And all you have to do is pause the video and read it. Their contact information is in there. You can contact them by email or phone and join them in their fight against injustice. So where do they go if they're not here? Are they rotating out to the 7th Street site?
I believe so. I think that they're still going to the parks. We have some friends in the park watch deal, and a lot of the same cars that come here are still going to the parks. They bounce around until they get some pressure to get moved out of there.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of spreading it around town, so to speak.
I think majority of them are definitely here.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird. At night, there's a lot of traffic at night, and just people moving around, cars coming in and out, people stopping and dropping people off. At night's when they move.
Yeah.
And they like to come across here and go to the train tracks, and then they go.
Yeah, wherever that takes them, center of town or out this way. Yeah,
right.
It's convenient for them, I guess.
Oh yeah.
They go down to the Walmart.
It's the highway.
Hang out down there. A lot of them just head back down there. There's the one guy. There's two, a guy and a gal. They're dealing drugs right at the Boys and Girls Club. Mm-hmm. We know that. We have some friends with a business down there. And every day they're sitting there. The cops know it too. Their hands are tied, or they ask them if they're doing drugs, and they say no, so they can't search them. They can't do anything. And
just like that, like we've called, we see it happen.
We'd normally call that in, but the police say that if they don't see it, it doesn't count. And you can say, well, we got it on video. Wouldn't that hold up better in court? And they say, no, it wouldn't. I could name the officer that told us that, but
yeah,
chose not to do that.
I'm getting the feeling that that the state is somehow tying their hands. I know that they have this HB 3115 law that came along just after the Supreme Court case started being litigated, and that seems to have their hands tied. It's oddly written where you have to somehow accommodate these people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of threatening in the way that if you don't accommodate them, it sort of gives them fuel to go after you legally somehow.
Yeah.
And
I understand that as well. I don't know the details of that. I would love to know the details of that. Like, what exactly do we have to provide? Why do we have to provide these people anything? Like, as taxpayers and as citizens of this community, why do we have to provide them anything?
You go along this little route. This is in the grass here, what they like to take. Yesterday we found at least 5 needles, caps, foils, all over.
Same thing the park watch people are getting in the park.
It's a daily thing.
Human feces.
Yes.
That's always fun. But there's bathrooms in there. They just don't.
They're right there.
They don't use them.
Well, and they might be occupied with somebody shooting up or smoking drugs
Exactly.
or whatever.
Whatever.
So they don't have a place where they can take care of business.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, we came down here one night and sat right here on one of our trailers, and I didn't see that to be the case. They would just come outside the camp and go over anywhere over in here and do their business. I don't think there was a line at the porta potty, but I mean, it's everywhere. It's all through here, all down the street, back over by Copeland's yard. The lady at the mini storage down there, their landscape company told them that they will not clean that up anymore. There was just feces in their bushes because it's a prime spot right there. There's big bushes they can hide behind. So that's what they do. They go back there and do what they got to do. And
I've been on the business end of that before. I've had commercial properties here in town, And when a tenant comes in and there's a big pile in the middle of the parking lot, they call me up and I have to come down there with a shovel. So, I mean, I understand it from, the maintenance aspect. I wouldn't want to be doing that. I would certainly want more to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's hazmat.
Right.
Well, there's just such a disregard for people and their property or belongings. It's just, I've never seen this kind of entitlement firsthand. And that's exactly what it is. Even if I trespass someone off of here, they puff up to me like I owe them something. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm the one that gets up every day and goes to work. I don't owe you anything.
Well, they're being treated pretty well in this circumstance, As I always say to people, 20, 30 years ago, this wouldn't have been an issue because the law backed the people up.
And people had more brass back then. That's just
Right,
simply.
yes. Well, everybody is scared of being called a bad person. Mm-hmm. And there are a number of different ways of calling somebody a bad person. You can call them a racist.
Yeah.
You can call them you're uncompassionate.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that label. And
well, that's the thing is they want to play your emotions and they want to play the emotional card. Well, I want to play the logic card. Like, let's make some logical decisions. Like, you can call me whatever you want. I'm still going to get up every day and go to work and support my community and fight so that my kids have a good community to grow up in, regardless of who says what. Like, they can call me. I don't care what they call me. I'm over it. I used to bend a little bit that way, even to the point where I was first kind of an advocate of, okay, let's get help to the people that need help. Most of these people, it's in the high 90 percentile, don't want help. You can't help people that don't want help. And that's where I'm at now. I'm just mad and I don't want this. I don't want anybody else in my community to have to do with any of the good people in my community that are raising families and working hard. They shouldn't have to deal with this. The people from around the parks, I'm glad they got them out of the parks for those people. I'm happy for those people. I'm hoping those people are my team. But to just move this problem around and not actually address the problem is drug abuse and mental problems.
Right.
We're just kicking the can around town and spreading the thieving and the feces and the pee and the disrespect, and it's not doing anything.
It's an injustice to the people that are in there that maybe do want help and are ready for help, and just allowing drug dealers to just park right outside of their camp where they're supposed to be receiving help. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
I can't imagine trying to get help and like, nope, I'm ready to get clean, but my dealer's outside, or there's people actively using right in front of me. How can you ask them to win that battle? That's an injustice, and that's compassion.
Right.
That's compassionate.
Yes, exactly. But that's not.
I'm going to hold you to a higher standard and expect things out of you because that's what the world is going to do to you.
Exactly.
So we're going to start here with small expectations, reachable goals. But there has to be something.
Man, you had ought to be running for city council or something. No, these are the type of people that we need in government right now.
Yeah.
And this is just me injecting my political opinion here, but it seems that our current leadership is about accommodating these people and accommodating the nonprofits that keep this coming.
Right.
If you build it, they will come, and the nonprofits have built it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that is masked as compassion.
Keeps them in business.
It keeps them in business, and listen, I've said it before. I don't want to ascribe motive or intent to people who are running these operations. Many of them may be well intentioned.
Absolutely.
I believe that. I believe that true.
But the outcome.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, look back at a short term of history. Look at Seattle, Portland, Oakland, San Francisco, even Salem and Eugene. They all poured money at this problem because they bent over because the state said, well, that's what you have to do. It didn't work there. Look at all those cities. That's exactly why I'm fighting. I do not want my city to turn into any one of those. And they're just pouring money at it, and they're just growing the problem. As you said, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah. So, what would you like to see happen? What's your what's your desire for the city to do? Obviously, you don't like the fact that this is right next to your place of business.
I think there's two things that are just incredibly simple that would help this problem dramatically. Number one, you got to have these people sign in. You got to know who's in there. Okay, all the ones with warrants, and there's a lot of them because these aren't like upstanding citizens. All the ones with warrants, or they're gone. I don't know where they go. I don't care. They're gone. And then number two, you have to enforce the laws that we already have. And I understand the sheriff's going to say, well, we don't have the funding to, support how many beds we have in our jail. And so we don't, and the DA is going to say, well, we don't have enough district attorneys. Well, the city just put out $325,000. I don't know where they got that money. Why didn't they have the city and the county work together on that one and somehow figure it out? Like, that seems to be a big disconnect.
Well,
too.
And the thing is I think you could kill two birds with one stone in that regard, in that if you started making it clear that there was going to be some screening for warrants and for drug use and things of that nature, there would be a less desire to be here.
Yes.
Exactly.
And they would perhaps look at greener pastures down the road. And, that makes me seem like I want them gone. Yes, I want them gone. I'm sorry that I'm saying that out loud, but I am. And I think a lot of people in town want them gone too. And this is not them being uncompassionate. This is them being the payers of the bills. And you wouldn't have somebody freeloading, abusing the rules in your domicile. You wouldn't put up with that in your house.
No.
So
you don't treat your children that way.
You don't, right, exactly. You'd hold them to a higher standard because you love them.
It's humane.
It's humane. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're supposed to pay for all this and deal with the consequences all over town. On the flip side, I can't let my kids run around town like I did when I was their age. There's no way. There's just too many crazies out there and just too much weird stuff going on. And we're just fueling that, whether it's a small percentage or a large percentage. Like, I don't want any percentage of that.
And we're not ignorant to the fact that this comes from bigger problems than just this camp. This comes from state level issues and the
national
DA and
issues.
And this is a huge social issue. I mean, as a whole, I think morals have kind of gone in the tank, and we're not ignorant to that fact. But we can start to implement changes that would help maybe impact 10%, 5%, whatever that is. It's better than what we're doing now.
Well, in my opinion, 10%, 5 to 10% are the only people here you can help.
Exactly.
The other people are here to take advantage of your goodwill, and they're going to destroy the area and litter and do other things. Have no regard, exactly.
And to those 5 to 10%, those are the ones that I have compassion for: the elderly, the disabled, the handicapped.
The
They're
mentally
literally
ill.
the mentally ill. They're literally in there with people that have no regard, that have no interest in bettering their lives.
Right.
That is so inhumane to me.
Right, and I don't think that we should be quiet about not being hospitable to that.
Yeah.
Listen, you shouldn't have to put up with people that you wouldn't have in your own home.
Right.
They're taking advantage, and all of us are going to begin shouldering the cost of this at some point, because they'll just add another fee to your water bill or something like that. I'm already dealing with that at my building. I'm sure you guys are dealing with it.
Yeah, they already hit us with that one. They'll find something else.
Right. So all right. So we know what the solutions are, really, because this isn't that difficult of a problem.
No.
They always like to make it seem more difficult than it is.
Like, how are we supposed to provide this?
Yeah.
How?
More money.
Yeah.
Yeah, you pay more money.
Yeah.
This is the government formula. Pay more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that'll solve the problem. And it won't, by the way.
No.
It won't be better. In 5 years, if you poured $10 million into accommodating these people, you'd have a much worse problem at the end of 5 years than you have right now.
Yes. And I don't want to, say that people are the equivalent to animals, but when you're rehabilitating an animal to go back into the wild, you have to give it some formation or some grounds that how it's going to behave out in the wild, and that goes back to having rules and regulations and expectations.
Right.
We treat animals better than this, and by treating them better, I mean giving them an environment that they're going to live by someday, hopefully, and that we're not doing that. This is just a free for all. This is about as anarchical as we could be in there,
Yeah, I agree.
and it's spilling out into our streets.
Our community, all over
Yeah.
town. It's not just here. You should come down here in the middle of the night.
This is just the base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is where
Yeah.
they come here in the day, and at nights when they're out moving, stealing things and littering in all the parks still.
Yeah, and we've just created a barrel for the drug dealers to come to. I mean, they just park out here, and you see the people going into the camp, stop at the vehicle, go inside, come back out. There's prostitution happening. I mean, it is as blatant as you can imagine.
So, if you can see that, why can't the police come down here and, park somebody in an unmarked car, make note of who these people are, and cart them off? Why isn't that happening?
That's a great question.
Of the day.
Yeah.
We've
Question
offered
of the year.
we've offered our property. I could take one of these trailers and
Right.
turn it sideways and make it a surveillance
Totally.
studio that way no one knew what was going
Yeah,
on.
very easy.
Very easy.
Yeah.
We brought that up to one of the sergeants, and he said they may already be working a case, and if you have information, you can call the tip line.
Yeah, they call this kind of petty, and they say that they don't have enough district attorneys to prosecute petty crime, so it's just catch and
Well,
release.
then what's the point? Why don't you just
That's
let
what
them
I asked
take over?
the
Just
same
let 'em
officer.
go.
Yeah, just let them. You know what? Just they could just commandeer all these properties around here and just let the homeless have the whole thing.
Yeah. And I can see that they are extremely frustrated. I know that their hands are tied. I know it's not their fault.
Who's tying their hands?
Right.
I want to know if that's local.
Right.
If the hands being tied local, you've got to get rid of that.
Correct.
You have to find out who's making
Yeah.
those decisions and say, you're out of here.
Yes.
I have some suspicions, but I don't know anything for a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that they
and I don't
keep-
know the police would tell you either.
I don't think
no.
they won't.
Because, they have to live.
They fall back on legislation.
Yeah.
That's our legislation. And
They
there's
they
just
keep
some
falling
rules.
back on the sheriff's department not having enough money to staff for the additional beds that they already have. They call themselves full at half full when they have roughly when they have a lot more beds to offer, and that's it wouldn't take very long. Catch and release doesn't work because you don't have to crash when they're coming down off fentanyl and they actually have to crash. That's miserable, and they don't want to do that. So if we just held them for a couple of days and made them crash and made them be sick, they don't want to do that. They're not. They're going to move on.
Exactly.
I mean, there was just a case on Sunday. There was two overdoses inside the camp. One of the people that overdosed went to the hospital, and he ended up passing away at Si Casa Flores
I heard
hours
about it.
later.
Yeah.
Clearly, he should have been held. Like, imagine if he was just held in jail and you're not allowed to leave because he was maybe mentally unstable,
Right.
was maybe trying to commit suicide. Why wasn't there a suicide watch or something along those lines put on that young man? He was 22 years old.
Oh my God, that's horrific.
Yeah.
That's horrific. I wonder, I think that we're talking here, we're not cops,
Right.
so we don't know what they deal with.
Right.
Right.
But these sound like common sense solutions that you can counter incentivize what's happening here.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's binding them from doing that. I see, like, there's one particular sheriff in Florida. He just says, yeah, we shot that guy 61 times. And that's how we deal with crime here.
Yeah.
Or, if you're going to do this, this is going to be the impact. And if you had some leadership like that,
Less political.
less political and just very matter of fact,
Yeah.
you could affect some change.
it's difficult to do that because it takes guts.
Some brass.
Yeah, you have to be able to say what other people won't say.
Yeah. We've got 50 businesses right now that we're going to create an alliance here to demand some things be changed. It's time, because nobody's standing up for us. And so we've got to stand up for ourselves and fight back. I don't want to give up this without a fight. No way.
Yeah, that's probably why you contacted us. You caught some kind of wind of that, and that's exactly.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't.
But I saw your letter, and that alludes to it. But I just saw this. This is something that everybody here that's dealing with them can identify with.
Right. We have no political aspirations whatsoever. I'm just trying to run a business, and we work together and trying to raise our family here, and nobody's standing up for us, and they just happen to drop this as our neighbor, and so we had enough.
I won't put words in your mouth, but I think this is what I pay taxes for, is for somebody to intervene on my behalf, because I'm paying you to do that.
Yes.
I'm paying a certain amount of taxes, and I feel like the reason why I'm doing that is for the privilege of doing business in this community, and that there's a value to that. When that value gets degraded, then I have to start asking questions, and these are some of the questions we're asking here.
Yep. And what happens when these businesses can't afford to do this? Can't afford to keep up. Their fences keep getting cut. That's
Or what happens when
$4,000 a pop.
one of us is working down here late at night and get attacked or stabbed or shot or something. I fear that, honestly.
Yeah.
I've actually purchased mace and put them in all my office workers' desks. So I have girls that sometimes, work late at night, not too late, but I don't want them closing down even at 5 o'clock by themselves. So we've had to make new rules about that. And I have mechanics in the shop. You're working on something and got your mind on it, and someone can walk in behind you, and that's not a good situation. Or a couple of guys can. I don't know if you've seen any in the background. There's several guys walking through here with masks on now, and they're not from here. They're not, Grants Pass residents having a hard time. Right. They're coming in from all over the country.
And perhaps they don't want to be identified.
Exactly.
This is why the mask.
And we got to work right next to that.
Yeah.
This business right here, they work late. They work on fleet vehicles, and so they work all night sometimes. And that's when it's dangerous.
Yeah. So going back to our alliance that we're creating, we have plans to meet with the prospective mayor, Clint Scherf. Hope he wins. We'd like to meet with the sheriff, the DA, the county commissioner, because if somebody doesn't start standing up for us, and I fear this, businesses will leave. And then what does Grants Pass look like? What does Grants Pass look like 50 businesses
Well,
left?
it's the broken window
Yeah.
situation, when the broken window is allowed to stay there, and then you got another one and another and another, and pretty soon,
And then on top of that, it gets worse. The city makes it so hard to start a new business. I don't know if you have any. I have friends that have built new buildings and stuff around town, and the amount of taxes and traffic study costs and stuff, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars just in permitting, just to build a new building, not to mention the cost of the building, just the permitting. And it is absolutely ridiculous. So that's not a good way to promote new business. So we're strangling our existing businesses and not promoting new businesses, and that's just a recipe for disaster.
So you're pointing towards several things that city government could do if they had the will to do it.
The guts.
Yeah, the will and the guts, and
I was talking to a friend yesterday, and this is a little bit off story, but same kind of thing. He went with somebody. They're opening Dutch Brothers all over the country, and I believe they were in, I don't know, it was Alabama or Tennessee, somewhere back there. And he went with the guy that was opening the new stand into the city planning office. And he said he couldn't believe it because he spent time in our city planning office. He said they called in people from upstairs and said, "Oh my gosh, these plans are amazing. Come down here and look at what he wants to do." Instead of, I don't know if you've dealt with city planning here, it's a permit and a fee and a process and a wait for everything, and there's
Kind of
no
like the DMV.
Yeah, exactly. There's no care, there's no compassion,
Yeah.
no interest in helping. And I thought that was a stark contrast.
This is a spirit in government that needs to be different
Yeah.
than it is, in my estimation. You have, who are you in service to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They've forgotten that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of our leadership, not just the city problem, the state problem, and the federal problem, have forgotten that lesson.
Well, Shawn Hvall, thank you very much, and your
Thank
wife.
you.
I'm sorry.
Bree.
Bree. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for
Mike.
coming
I
down.
enjoyed it.